This is part two of a video series where we discuss the current situation in the NBA. I did the video on the Eastern Conference. You guys can watch that if you like. This one is on the Western Conference. We've got the front half of the year now complete, and we kind of know some things about some of these teams. And there wasn't that much action at the trading deadline for most of the Western Conference teams. We had a little bit of change, but I can't say that the teams that are in the what I think to be the top tier of the Western Conference, I don't think anything really happened substantially outside of the Warriors getting, some new roster modifications, if you will. I don't really think much happened outside of that. Most of that stuff, like I said, I think that's more of like a roster dumping and guys getting moved and stuff like it wasn't like important to the league in terms of the playoffs or anything outside of James Harden to Cleveland. That's really it, right? Anyways, Western Conference. Let's kind of start at the bottom, if you will. Play-in teams that are kind of on the edge. The Blazers, the Warriors. The Blazers surprised me. Somehow, some way, they're floating around a 500% win mark. I thought they were going to be much worse. Shout out to them. I hope they continue to play hard, win games, and somehow make it into the play-in. And who knows, maybe sneak into that final spot. I don't know. But good for them. The Warriors. This is an aged team. This is a team where the most important players are prone to injuries. Jimmy Butler tears his ACL. Steph has missed a ton of games. Draymond Green is now missing games just because Steph isn't playing. And Steve Kerr is not developing his team. And the system is a failure when you don't have all-time greats in Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, this, that, and the third. They did move on from Kuminga and all that stuff, but the Warriors ain't making no noise. Steve Kerr said they were a fading dynasty. They are a faded dynasty, and it's been faded. The championship in 22 was amazing. Steph Curry was amazing. Steph Curry can still do some special things from time to time. He can't do them consistently. You're seeing an injury-prone player. This team is through. They are a play-in team at best, given all the circumstances that I just described. Moving on, the Phoenix Suns. Kind of look at them a little bit like the Blazers. Overachieving, much better than I thought they were going to be. I'm sure maybe you did as well. They've been playing good basketball. I'm surprised. I thought they were going to be like a reconstruction project, and they did kind of make some roster changes, but props to them. They're playing really good basketball. They're currently 7th in the West, and they're not far away from moving up to 6th or 5th or even 4th or 3rd. They're within a few games. Like, it's not that crazy. I don't think they end up in the top 6 to close out the year or anything. You would have to have something major happen to some of the other teams in front of them, in my opinion. But, it's great to see them compete. Nice job by the Suns. All right, the Timberwolves, I think, is where things start out west in terms of the good teams that legitimately can make some noise in the playoffs. I have to say, a couple years ago, I had my reservations about Ant-Man. I thought, like, the way he was playing basketball, yeah, he was amazing. He made these splash plays, kind of fall in love with the three-pointer. He has improved his three-point shooting. I think he's gotten better at how and when he takes them. And I think also just becoming a better player, I would say like a better team player. I think his leadership has really improved. I think his consistency has improved. And it shows because the Minnesota Timberwolves roster has not really improved. It's gotten a little bit less talented, and they're still a competitive team out west. And I think it's because of Ant-Man, and I think of his development as a player. So I'll admit that I was a little premature about his regression. I think he's done a nice job of kind of improving, and he really is one of the elite players of the league. He is amazing to watch. He's a fantastic player, and that team is pretty good. I actually think that if they play the Lakers in a 7-game series, the Wolves can absolutely beat them because of matchups. I do. But it wouldn't surprise me if the Lakers won. The Lakers have a ton of talent on their roster. But anyways, to kind of discuss the Lakers only beat teams that are like much worse than them. They don't play up to competition is what I'm saying. They seem to just, they're kind of like regular. And like I said, they're a talented team. You have Luka, who people tell me is all-time great. You have LeBron, who people tell me is an all-NBA player still. And then you have guys like Jake LaRavia, who's been overachieving. Marcus Smart has been overachieving. Jackson Hayes in some games has been amazing. DeAndre Ayton has some stellar games this year. He's not that consistent, but you're not paying him that much money to require or need consistency at that level. I mean, you have talented players, and then you have the basketball, the savant of JJ Redick, who's the greatest coach of all time, obviously. You fired Darvin Ham, who got to the Western Conference Finals, for this guy. So the expectation for all this greatness, shouldn't they be winning some games against good teams? They get their asses kicked by good teams. And they have so many double-digit losses and losses by 20 plus points and, games where they're losing by 30. Embarrassing games, really. To me, they're the biggest underachiever on a game-to-game basis. You look at the record and you think they might actually be pretty good. They're a mid-team. So many of their games in the front half of the year playing against teams missing their best players. I know LeBron missed the first 15 games and Luka's been missing games. And guys, that's not going to change. Those two guys are as injury prone as it comes. Even like Austin Reeves missed games with a pulled calf or a string calf or whatever. I don't have high aspirations for the Lakers. I don't think they're that great, and I don't think they're going to make any type of run. The roster just doesn't have the pieces to fit to beat good playoff teams. In my opinion, they're a first round exit. And if even they were to get past the first round, I think they get their asses kicked in the second round. I think they'll probably finish somewhere in this range, 5th or 6th. I think worst case, maybe 7th. I don't know if they finish worse than that. So to me, they're a playoff team. They'll win enough games. They have enough talent to do that. But they are for sure underachievers. Moving on to the Rockets, this is a dangerous team. This is a team that is really, really good. The last 10 games, looking kind of wishy-washy. I know they had a 3-game losing streak, but they lost to a really good Boston team, a surging Charlotte team, and then they had the loss to the Clippers. They avenged that loss, and they win the most recent matchup with the Clippers. But the Rockets have talent, tons of it. Alfred Sengun is one of the best players in the NBA. He plays both sides of the court really well. Offensively, he's really developing. He hits the glass. He's great on the rebounding. His defense is good. His offense, he's very reliable in terms of scoring. He's probably the most complete player on the team. And in some ways, at this point in their careers, he's better than KD. I mean, he's not a better offensive player. KD's offense is still crazy good. But there's nothing impressive about KD's defense. Sometimes it's good, and he's very, very tall and lengthy. But Sengun is, he's all NBA. He's real. That's a really, really good player, and he's a young player. Amin Thompson's great. You look at the roster, they've got some injuries, but I think they're going to be fine, and they're a problem for anybody when it comes to the playoffs. They're going to be part of some really interesting series when it comes to the playoffs. Next, we have the Nuggets. Obviously, Joker, Jamal Murray. The important parts for the Nuggets is health, right? So Murray, Joker staying healthy. Aaron Gordon, so important. A glue guy, right? Does a lot for that team. You'll see moments where he's playing point. You're going to see moments where he's guarding the other team's best wing or the other team's best forward. What he does for that team, it just cannot be quantified. He's really consistent. He's really good. He could score. He could, pass. He plays great defense. So important. So if he's missing games, they're in trouble, for sure. Watson, really just arriving. What a fantastic player. They got some of the guys back. They're getting healthier. Joker kind of feeling his way back in. Jamal Murray's been relatively healthy. He's an all-star this year. That's, in my opinion, the second or third best team in the Western Conference, and probably the third best team in the league. Probably. All right. Now the Spurs, and I think you could switch the Spurs and the Nuggets. I think you kind of move between these two at this position. But the Spurs present matchup problems for anyone. Like, they're a serious issue when you look at the young guys running up and down the floor, and Vassell and Castle and Wemby and De'Aaron Fox, which I try to tell people how good De'Aaron Fox really is. This guy was in Sacramento. Nobody knew who he was and what he was doing. Now you're putting him with Victor Wembanyama, Castle, Vassell, these guys. They're so fun to watch, and they present some serious matchup problems for the best teams in the West. The Spurs with Victor Wembanyama are seriously good. They are early in their development. They are definitely here. They don't really have the playoff experience outside of like Harrison Barnes. I'm trying to think about the roster and like who can bring that to the table, but that's really their weakness. It's just the experience. They don't really have it that much. De'Aaron Fox hasn't been battle tested in the playoffs and stuff, playing in Sacramento, I think making What, that one series maybe he was in that was meaningful. But I expect them to be very dangerous in the playoffs and really make some problems for some teams. They, in a 7-game series, would give the Nuggets hell. And also in a 7-game series with the Thunder, they would give them hell for sure. And I give the Thunder just a small edge because of the experience, but the matchups are crazy. And to be honest with you, the only 3 teams I'm legitimately, feel confident about them winning a championship possibly out of the West, it's really the Nuggets, Spurs, and Thunder. Those are the only 3. I don't know how I feel about the Rockets right now. It's really tough because, the health has been an issue. And KD, I don't know how close is he to the special KD? I don't know. It's hard. I've seen a great version of the Rockets. If maybe what's his name, Fred VanVleet. I don't know. It's been like 10 or 11 months since he tore his ACL. I don't know if he'll be ready for the playoffs, but they sure could use his leadership and experience. But likely would not be 100% himself. He's previously wasn't really athletic, anyways. Nothing special about the guy. He's just tough, smart. He could knock down a shot and stuff like that. So I'm not sure about them. But the Thunder, they've had their injury problems. Jalen Williams has been injured. Now SGA is injured. You've seen Hartenstein out of the lineup. Chet Holmgren has been dinged up but playing. You've seen the young guys getting some run and developing, so that's kind of exciting. To me, they're still the favorite in the West. You get to wear the crown after you've won it, and you defend your title. So I'm going to go with the Thunder still as the best team in the West when everything is out on the table. The Spurs and the Nuggets, I think you can move them between 2 and 3, and then I think the Rockets at 4, and I think the rest of the guys, they're just too far away from that. And the Thunder have proven they know how to win, so I'm going to lean that way. And I don't think the Thunder are concerned about the record. They obviously would love nothing more than to finish with the best record in the league or the best record in the West. But they're probably more concerned about their health. They want to defend their title, and those guys play hard for each other. Mike Dagnall's a fantastic coach. SGA, the league MVP. These guys are champions. You saw what J-Dub brings to the table in the finals, and Chet Holmgren was definitely game for the finals. So I'm still taking them to come out of the West. Spurs, Nuggets, kind of right there. Rockets, maybe. The rest of the guys, Lakers, Wolves, not enough to deal with the Thunder, Spurs, or Nuggets. Let me know what you guys think. Drop me some comments. Who's your team coming out of the West? Who's been your surprises for the good or the bad? Let me know if you see things a little bit differently. Obviously opinions can vary, but drop me some comments, like, share, and subscribe. Check out some more videos. We'll see you guys soon on the next one.